It is election day in a good portion of the country where they are holding elections the first Tuesday of November in 2023. New Jersey, Virginia, a number of other places around the country. But and in Oregon, we actually don't expect to receive any results for anything that might be voted on because
No, we don't have elections on the first Monday following or first Tuesday following a Monday of the same month or in November in Oregon. We have election month.
yeah, which doesn't end with an election day. It ends with stuff just keeps happening.
Well, yeah, stuff. Yeah, the tally keeps changing until it's apparently right by whoever tallies.
Exactly.
I
Well,
guess.
and I know that there's been some very interesting election integrity stories that have been emerging in recent weeks, and Sunny and I talked about one the other day with that surveillance video in Connecticut. Turns out that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's like
No.
ballot stuffers and people who must have done it for the very first time. This has never happened before, and they just invented it just the other day.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Which is to say that the previous video footage is not available. Doesn't exist.
yes, exactly, or has been deleted,
Right.
protect
Right.
for your protection.
Yeah, we
And
know how to.
as JP Sears likes to say, it's been the information has been redacted for your protection.
Yes,
So,
because too much information, as we know, is dangerous.
well, let's start off with one of the interesting stories here in Oregon. Congressional representative Val Hoyle from the 4th Congressional District, which is like Lane County, Douglas County north of Roseburg, and basically the Oregon coast from Lincoln County down uh, to Curry and Coos. It is she's got some problems, and in particular, apparently after failing to fight discrimination in her own department and losing a lawsuit, which we had to pay for, she has been um, the recipient of money from La Mota, the same entity that, by the way, did you know La Mota means the weed in Spanish? I didn't know that. The weed.
It's kind of
So
like La Raza,
La Raza, the race. Yeah,
the
exactly.
race. Yeah.
And so she is famously somebody who received money and then 2 weeks later took $50,000 that she received and turned it into $550,000 government sponsored internship that went to a nonprofit founded by La Mota,
The weed, yeah, founded by the weed.
the weed. And then it turns out that she did a bunch of this business dealing with entities like La Mota on her personal cell phone, sending text messages, etc. And she spent 8 months not providing the information that she conducted public business of to the Bureau of Labor and Industry, who's in no rush to get the answer, apparently. And the Attorney General of Oregon, who is not running for reelection, she's in no rush to get anything to do anything about it. However, Val Hoyle, who can no longer deny that it was requested repeatedly, uh, has still not handed this information over. So yesterday, Sophie Peel, reporter at Willamette Week, published a story giving an update saying she still not turned over the public records. This is, by the way, not Val Hoyle's property. It's your property and my property. They are public records. And this is 2 months later than Val Hoyle said that she would turn it over. Well, it's actually been 11 months. Sorry, 11 months since the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries asked Hoyle, who was the commissioner for 4 years before being elected to Congress in 2022, hand over her personal devices to the agency so they can inspect them for public records. She said no, and she hired a lawyer to go through these records and decide which ones should be handed over, which is actually not how it works. But I know that they are public records, not her property, and then she decides which ones get to be public. So and so we just recounted the story. But what's interesting is that the person that was hired to be the lawyer to go through these records is somebody who actually worked for, drum roll please, Kate Brown. And I know you can't make this stuff up. And so Kate Brown, this person that worked for Kate Brown actually has a history of public records disclosure issues. Like, she's not good at it. In fact, she's intentionally bad at it. And I know that that might just sound like par for the course, but when I said Kate Brown and you burst out laughing,
Is she a girl? Is she a girl lawyer or a boy lawyer?
yes. And I know it's like
Biologically.
yeah, I don't know. I'm a Republican. I'm not a biologist, so I just know which way to vote.
Well, we'll refer to her from here on out as La Abogada, the lawyer. And Sophie Peel from here on shall be known as La Reportera, the reporter.
La Reportera. And
now we've got the whole story framed out. We've got the weed, the reporter, the lawyer.
And then I don't know how to translate pay to play into Spanish. That is I need to go get Google Translate going on.
Yeah,
that.
Google's real good at that
one. Then that could be our code designation for Val Hoyle. But it's fascinating that well, and here's the
Congresita.
Congresita.
We'll call her La Congresita.
Well, for now, that might change come 2024. But so Kate Brown's old legal counsel, Emily Matasar, she's going to get to pick and choose which records to hand over. She was at the center of a public records scandal in Brown's office and was repeatedly called out by Oregon news outlets for obstructing public records releases. So, NRCC spokesperson Ben Peterson issued a statement here saying, "This rotten arrangement stinks to high heaven. Corrupt Val Hoyle exemplifies Oregon Democrats' culture of corruption." And they really do have a culture of corruption because, look, it's not just one isolated incident. They spread it around. Kate Brown.
I mean, what is La Congrista hiding? If La Abogada has to pick and choose, which bits of information, I'm glad that La Reportera is on this.
Yes, and
by the way, I don't get that. I don't understand that. Hey, I did X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, show me your phone. Okay, here's my phone. I did X, Y, and Z. I mean, I get the Fourth Amendment part of it. But if you're conducting, state business, government business on your private phone, I'm not sure that Fourth Amendment is going to apply to you.
No, I think that at this point, they could always find a neutral arbiter too. I think courts, when there are court subpoenas for information and they have to separate, they call it a special master, but you can always find a neutral arbiter who would actually look at all of these things and make a decision. What they do is they specifically go out of their way to pick the most unneutral arbiter that has had a history of failing to disclose public records. It's like,
well, what kind of sordid stuff does she have on her phone that she, she don't want to see it?
I've got to say that
kind of makes you want to just invite her out to lunch and left her phone, doesn't it?
Exactly. And in fact, I think part of it was she was invited out to dinner and by La Moda. I think it was that restaurant. What's the one on like the 38th floor of the U.S. Bank building? I forget the name of it, but it's this pretty nice place that doesn't really have any dishes that are below $30, and they claim that that Val paid for her own meal.
Yeah.
But then they can't present any evidence of that. Wonder if those records would just simply show just how closely coordinated they were. how I've got your back, girlfriend. You just shovel
Well, I'm
over the
sure.
money, and here's coming an internship.
I'm sure if she paid for it, she paid for it in cash, Kevin.
Yeah, a giant bag of cash.
Yeah,
Maybe rolls of pennies. You never
from
know. It could have
from the
been
weed,
from the weed. Yeah, from the weed.
the weed money.
Well, I'm
That's
glad
what
we
we
could
call it
bring
at my house, the weed money, la mota dinero,
La Mota de Niro.
dinero de la mota, de la mota.
Yeah, we may actually have to have Spanish subtitles soon for this show just to keep up. But yeah, it's I know it's and I you'd think that they would actually care how things look or what appearances look by, but I don't think they do. I don't really think they care at all. But look, keep it up, Val. You're doing super awesome. Thank you for handing Republicans everything they need to prove to the public that you are unethical and perhaps corrupt. And we don't know. Could we say that she's obstructing an investigation? Is that a proper word?
Yeah, I would say she's doing that. I mean, again, it's a little sticky. I mean, if a cop comes to me and says, "Hand over your phone," I'm going to say, "Well, you show me a warrant that specifically says my phone and specifically what you're looking for on my phone, and then we can talk." But I don't work for the state of well, I do work for the state of Oregon. I guess about 9.9% of my income goes to them. More if you count the other
Hmm.
shit that I pay them. Quite a bit more. Uh, but if you're working with the state of Oregon and or the state or the feds or whoever, I mean, your business dealings and your business communications on behalf of the state are property of the state, right?
Actually, not property of the state. They are yes, the state is the
Property
one
of
that
the
it
public.
belongs to, but it's actually because of public records and sunshine laws, it's ours.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
ours.
yeah, yeah.
So
You're
we
right. Yeah.
and
I mean,
see if
and I'm not even sure how that works in private business, but I'm pretty sure that if you give me a phone and I say, sold the customer or whatever for 100 grand, and the customer said, "Hey, he told me 80," and you say, "Show me your phone," I got to show me, I got to show me your phone that you gave to me for business, right?
yep.
Yeah,
But what Lamoda did, the weed said, "Show me the money," and Val said, "You got it." Uh,
yeah. That's a hell of a return too. I mean,
yep.
it's 50 that she put on paper. Who knows how much of that was the weed cash and bags, but 50 or 75, whatever she got from it, and turned into 500 or 550. I mean, that's a nice payoff. Nobody in their right mind would turn that down. I'd do that all day long. I'll give you 50,000. You give me back 550. Yeah, let's do that every day.
Well, and when you give them 550, you're not even giving them your money. You're
No,
giving someone else's money.
yeah. That's the beauty of being a Democrat in Oregon, an elected position. And the funny thing about that is, she was, Hoyle was, I should say her name because Hoyle was ahead of the Bureau of Labor and Industries at the time. And she should have known that this apprenticeship thing that the money was a federally regulated thing. And therefore, it was never going to happen because the feds don't recognize La Mota or the weed as being legal.
That's right.
Federales, nada,
No dinero, no dinero para la mota.
yeah.
Well, we've
Man, I hope a Spanish-speaking person doesn't come across our show here and go, "Oh my God."
well, we could add a third person, and they could be like,
We're trying. Hey, we're trying.
translating
If you're
for us.
Spanish speaking, and you came across, we're trying. We're trying to make it as interesting as we can. We're entitled white Americans who never learned another language. Oh, Kevin, Dutch, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. He's not an entitled white American. I am. I didn't learn anything other than English.
Well, and we did actually we got some assistance here
Yeah.
from Gerald Richardson. Pay to play in Spanish is paga para jugar. I think I got that right. So thank you,
Thank you for that,
Gerald.
Gerald.
Yeah. Hopefully he didn't make me just say something obnoxious and rude, but we'll just trust Gerald for now.
We get kicked off of Spanish Facebook.
That's right. Oh no. That's just add that to the list of expulsions. But well, hey, when we talked about how special it is to be a Democrat and what you can get away with, turns out that you can actually be for terrorist groups and join people that are um, interested in genocide, and you can still be an uncondemned, exalted nominee potentially of the Democrat Party for Congress. Sushila Jayapal, um, uh, Lars Larson has challenged her. Says, does Sushila Jayapal stand for anything other than hating conservatives? Because he goes in and kind of examines. She's currently a Multnomah County commissioner. She just resigned in order to run for Congress because Earl Blumenauer, the bow-tied guy that's been there for 3 decades, has decided not to run again. Turns out that her sister in Seattle, Pramila, already holds a seat where she aligns with the notorious anti-American, anti-Israel squad of AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. And just this morning on KXL News, Sushila didn't brag about her own accomplishments at Multnomah County because she doesn't have any. If you look at Multnomah County, it's, to put it mildly, a Schmidt show.
Yeah, it is.
And instead, she came right out of the gate attacking any citizen who questions results of American elections. They are so-called election deniers, such as the minority leader in the U.S. House of Representatives, whom she wants to join in Washington, because remember when he denied the 2016 election. So she's condemned her own minority leader. Guess she didn't think that one through. But he also points out, guess what, Sushila? Your sister's one of them. 2 weeks into her career in Congress, then Vice President Joe Biden had shut down Pramila Jayapal several times as a freshman member of Congress. She tried to block the certification of Donald Trump's election because she said he did not win it. She objected to, you guessed it, votes from Georgia. Yes, the same state where Trump now faces a dozen criminal charges for objecting to the counting of votes. So Pramila Jayapal she has actually managed to do something that only Democrats can do and get away with sometimes, is condemn themselves. She has condemned her past self. And Biden, of course, had to gavel her, bang his gavel several times to silence her because she was, oh, looks like we lost you there, David. Please come back. There's no debate. It's over, which got laughs in Congress. Sushila tells people who object to elections, says that they pose a danger to America. I would agree. Sushila and Pramila probably both pose a danger to America. They certainly pose a danger to Israel as they encourage the unfortunate folks on in Hamas to continue their murderous ways. But I think we'll see if that's enough of a campaign platform for her to sustain this indefinitely. Meanwhile, hopefully David can join us back here in a moment. Let me just see if he probably lost an internet connection, and that happens to us sometimes, mostly because I think someone who is in charge of disrupting internet does not like us. But suffice to say, I'm not the only one that experiences this, but I have yet to see Democrats get knocked off the air because of that. Well, I'm going to go on with. I'm going to save one of the stories for when David rejoins, I hope he does, because this one story is an absolute hoot, as they say, and I would like to talk about it with him. But there's a lot of speculation right now that if we do well or we pull out some elections that we're somewhat in doubt at one point, that we might be able to attribute that, yes, to Republicans voting early. There's been a major push for Republicans to vote early in Virginia in particular. And the reason for that is because we might have cost ourselves some very close elections in 2022. Our governor's race, some very close such as the 6th congressional district with Mike Erickson. That was a very close race, and many other lesser races, as well as ones in other parts of the country, because everybody decided to vote late and vote as late as they could, and as a result, made it cost 10 times as much for us to turn out votes and to be able to, and we weren't able to figure out who to aim our get out the vote efforts at to make sure that they would be reminded to vote. Some people we were reminding to vote, they'd already voted uh, or had decided they were going to vote and had turned in their ballot, but because they didn't do it until the last minute, we still had to go and figure out how to get them to turn in their ballot, which meant that the people who really needed the reminder, and you know who you are out there, probably nobody watching our show, because everybody that watches our show, stellar voters. Um, but it's tough. We need to get votes in earlier, and the program that the National Party has launched called Bank the Vote, a smart program. We're going to definitely pursue that here. Let's watch what happens in Virginia tonight, because I know they're going to be posting some results. And yes, could be that Starlink has been zapped. Maybe Vladimir Putin or the Chinese have taken it down. I don't know. We hope David rejoins here shortly. But this is not my first rodeo, and I can do the tap dance until such time that perhaps, yep, David just texted me. He said connection. I lost all internet-based connection. See, can you tether your cell phone? We'll see. I hope he can rejoin. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep plugging away here, because guess what? There's like a ton of news that's happened. And I want to cover some of the news in particular that relates to a certain Joseph R. Biden. We were kind of joking that the the trinity of Bidens, the Biden, Joe Biden the son, Joe Biden the brother, and Joseph R. Biden the unholy spirit. I'm just joking. I don't know. Maybe that's too harsh, but it's just been coming out everywhere. There are people that are starting to realize that he's going to probably face a couple dozen subpoenas. We covered that the other day. But Jonathan Turley is pointing out that this cover up that they're trying to do, it's like the Biden family's version of It's a Wonderful Life, except now they're trying to claim that it was all a bunch of loans for which there is no proof that they existed. That's what the payment from from Joe Biden's brother to him was, repayment of a loan, yet they cannot seem to produce any evidence of a loan ever having been made from Joe Biden to his brother. Plus, it's interesting because his brother's the one that seems to be swimming in money, as is his son. All of these receipts are coming out big time, and it really does look like that while this was going on with the investigation and the money that's emerging, and James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee that's pursuing this, they're tracing all the money back. Well, guess what's coming next? There's also information coming out about Hunter Biden's prosecutor, David Weiss. He apparently was questioned in front of Congress today. And looks like we got David is joining us back here. Well, let's try that again. There we go. We both clicked it.
Yeah.
So I was just covering
I guess my internet's back.
Well, good. David Weiss, the prosecutor, apparently keeps changing his story. You know how you know when there's an investigation and something's wrong with somebody's testimony? When they keep changing it, and it contradicts 180% what they said, say, a month or 2 or 3 earlier.
Right. Or they won't hand over their phone.
Or they won't hand over their phone. That's right.
That's when you know something's wrong.
So Jim Jordan said that David Weiss, first he sent a letter telling them that he did not request special prosecutor status. Then later he said that he had requested it, but it had not been granted. Then he came back again now and actually stated under oath today, apparently, that in fact he had formally requested special prosecutor status. And so this story keeps changing. The only story that hasn't changed constantly are the whistleblowers, which have been not only consistent, but corroborated by other witnesses they brought in front of the House Judiciary Committee. So Jim Jordan is kind of ripping these guys to shreds, and he has ample proof to do this. I think that where these breadcrumbs are leading is not only to the fact that Joe Biden's in deep trouble, there's somebody at the Department of Justice, perhaps the Attorney General, perhaps the U.S. Attorney that's supposed to be conducting the investigation, but also this is news from yesterday, or maybe this morning. Former chief Obama strategist, kind of the Karl Rove of Obama. His name is David Axelrod. He's kind of faded now, so people don't really remember him much anymore. But he suggested that Biden drops out of the 2024 race. He said if he continues to come, if Biden continues to run, he'll be the nominee of the Democrat Party. What he needs to decide is whether that is wise, whether it's in his best interest or the country's. I'm not even sure what is Joe Biden's best interest, other than the fact that he can maybe pardon himself once all this stuff comes out. Of course, no sooner had all this happened than David Axelrod came back out and said that people were overreacting to his comments, calling
what he really meant to say was what's best for the DNC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is probably what's going to happen anyway, right?
Well, yeah, we've talked about it. We're in I guess we're in a little bit of a bubble because, from our point of view, from our vantage point, there's no way in hell that a thinking electorate would reelect Joe Biden, and that means that Democrats are going to lose, right? So,
Cadavers don't do well in elections, but they do run sometimes. That's true.
No, they ought to put him in an orange jumpsuit and send him where he belongs. Sometimes, hey, Joe's put in 50 years. Sometimes you just got to sacrifice someone for the team. Say, hey, Joe, you're going to have to take one for the team. And by golly, we're going to send you to prison where you belong. And we'll just look like we're the upstanding party of sunshine and transparency. Right?
Yeah. No,
that's what happens. That's what happens politically. People get thrown under the bus all the time. It's just usually not the president.
Well, and usually the president has the ability to get himself out of these problems, but unfortunately, he and his administration and the people working for him keep changing their story constantly every time new information comes out, which is usually a telltale sign. And by the way, nobody seems to be able to prove that any of these guys paid taxes on this stuff. That's another thing. I mean, you can go ahead and say that it wasn't what they said it was, or somebody like Hunter Biden had a couple $1 million in debt that he had to pay, and some guy just comes in and pays it for him. Is he paying tax on this stuff?
Some guy that speaks Mandarin.
I don't know if that guy spoke Mandarin, but I know the people that are sending the money, helping Joe Biden's brother pay off a loan that they can't apparently prove ever existed. That guy was Mandarin. He's from a now defunct Chinese energy company. I mean, how would you like that on your resume? Former CEO of a defunct Chinese energy company and bribery suspect.
Yeah, well, on Hunter's resume, he could always put dependent of various European and Asian energy companies.
Well, I definitely think depends has something to do with Joe Biden in many different levels, but but I also think that Joe Biden doesn't know what's going on. I think if you explain this to him, he'd have no idea. Well, this is going to be probably my favorite story of the day. We can wind up with this one tonight, which is thieves loot medieval festival. So a bunch of thieves, and it's in Clackamas County, I think. They went medieval on a medieval festival. They just started stealing stuff left and right. And the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help to recover unique treasure trove of medieval costuming, including a suit of armor stolen from an equally unique Renaissance Fair trailer. It was the morning, Saturday, October 28th. They responded to a report of a stolen trailer, and the victim said that someone had stolen the trailer overnight from his rural property in Canby. It's a 4x8 low wall trailer with a custom built around it, um, decorated in a medieval theme. Which you'd think that's pretty hard to drive around a trailer with a medieval theme and not get noticed.
Probably unique. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
included an entire suit of armor, a sword, and other items. A photo of the trailer is attached. Fortunately, the responding deputies spotted and recovered the trailer. Oh, so it was recovered the same day on Needy Road. Okay. Well, I'm reading on into the story here.
Those are my
However,
stomping grounds.
oh yeah, well that's right. It used to be out there. Somebody had emptied the trailer of its contents, and so this photo of the still missing items apparently is also present here, and they're asking if somebody can reunite them with it. They think it was likely caused by addicts looking for something to steal and resell, like anything.
Trailers. Well, they steal trailers.
Yeah,
They still. I mean, we up in Hubbard, Aurora, Canby area. There's. I could probably even tell you the name of the people who steal them, but they're of an ethnicity that is in Eastern Europe, and they steal trailers.
and apparently suits of armor and swords. So
Apparently, yeah. That's funny. Was that person a member of the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism?
yes. Well, how'd you like to be the guy who thought he just got a steal on buying a suit of armor and a sword, and he shows up at something and they're like, "Sir, those items are
a little late for this Halloween, but it'll probably show up next."
That's exactly right. Or although if we find some dude that's dealing fentanyl downtown, suddenly wearing a suit of armor that he thought was super cool, wearing a sword, wandering around, kind of stammering across Burnside, the Burnside Bridge, swinging his sword, then they'll actually also know where that one came from. But yeah, Oregon man.
Yeah, that's funny.
Florida, Oregon. We've got Florida beat. We have suits of armor.
Pillaging and looting. Medieval festival.
That's right. Of course, I mean, the entire city downtown, it's gone medieval anyway, so probably no one would even notice if a suit of armor and a sword showed up. It would just be like part of the milieu of the downtown, along with burning tires and
I think for downtown Portland, I think medieval would be a step forward.
It'd be a step up. It'd be upgrade. There would be at least some entertainment going on.
Yeah, I think it's more like Dark Ages in downtown Portland.
Well, I think we covered a pretty good swath of news here tonight. Any last thoughts or anything we missed here, David, that we need to report?
Well, if you're still in Josephine County and you haven't turned in your ballot, vote no on that damn 99-cent tax. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. And if you're in Salem and haven't turned in your ballot, you got 20 minutes to get your ballot in to kill the income tax that they want to impose on you. Repeal that sucker and send a message that will help the rest of us in Oregon who think that imposing income taxes on people at the city level is probably going to drive people out of your city.
God, no kidding. I mean, what a backwards ass system where people who have a job, we tax people who have a job, and then we give money to people who don't.
And promote. And then if they commit crimes, we say, please stay, and victimize people until the point that people decide they have to leave because they can't take it anymore. And by the way, don't give any of that tax money to the police because we can't have them funded.
Yeah, we tax people who are productive and have a job, and we buy tents and sleeping bags for people who don't. So, I would say a fair majority of who could work. Could work. I saw a guy today who was writing a sign. He's right by the Dutch Brothers in Cave Junction, and he seems to be writing a new sign. Well, he's writing a new sign every time I get there, and I don't get there at the same time. So I'm thinking he's writing a new sign a lot. but I was pulling out and he saw me pulling out and he didn't have a sign finished. he was like, he was talking to me and stuff. I was like, you know, do you really think I'm going to stop now that I'm trying to get into traffic? I'm going to stop. I'm going to get out of my car and I'm going to go give you money for sitting on the side of the road, you know, with a sign, you know?
I think that those guys all should go into advertising with their persistence and their message creation. That'd be an honest job, actually, you know?
Oh, it would. It would. I mean, you know, there's lots of things I think that people that stand on the side of the road with a sign could do that would be, you know, I don't even care about how honest it is. It would be productive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, gosh, I don't know. I just, you know, my whole attitude on that kind of changed some time ago. I used to think that beggars had to make a living too, but then once there was a beggar on every corner, once there was a beggar at every cash register, once there was a beggar everywhere that you go, I thought, you know, the hell with it.
Yeah.
I'm not your guy anymore.
Well, speaking of that, we are ready to wrap up here today, I think, because we have covered the swath of news. Watch the elections. Watch for what issues emerge. Watch for what people think shaped the outcome, and just know that we've actually got to be ready here in 2024 to step up and make a difference. Otherwise, people like Val Hoyle get whitewashed, and they just keep obstructing investigations and taking bribes, and who cares? We're not going to let that happen.
Bagos Dinero from La Moda.
Well, on that note, adios, and what is it? Hasta mañana from all the folks here at
Very good.
at the El Captivo Audienzo. I don't know. I've murdered. We'll get the proper translation. Captivo probably does fit in their way.
Well, if you're Catholic, and I know that you are, you have a little bit of an edge because of that Latin. So
that's right. Yeah. Although I took French and that turned out to be almost useless. But anyway. Well, on that note, thanks, David, for joining. Mr. Vote Early, thank you for joining me here tonight. And well, actually, I'd say Vote Early. That
I didn't change when I logged back on. I had to log out and log back in.
But you were Mr. Vote No. I'm Mr. Vote Early. Vote no and vote early, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow night on the next episode of The Captive Audience.